Yes, good old TJ.
Konnichiwa, no scratch boy got back on another video. Today for you guys, we are bringing you a blue dagma. I think that's how you say it. Blue dag. No, my bad. Blue dragma. I think that's how you say it, right? Yeah, my bad. Blue dragma VA video. This video it is called "The Core of Shirou Emiya FateStay Night in Old Undershow." All right, so I don't know what they're gonna really talk about with Shinryu. As far as like just I guess like his background. I don't know what they're gonna talk about this with the whole character. But yeah, guys, like, share, subscribe to the video before we can get started on this. But like I say, first thing description box down below will lead to Blue Dragma's channel. So go ahead and go follow that and go and look at other Fate videos or any of the other videos he has on his channel. This is the first one me actually watching on his channel. Like I say, all credit goes out to him for the original content. I'm just reacting to it. So like I say, you guys want to see the original video without my face in it, go ahead and click the first link straight down below. It's going to lead to his channel. It's either going to be the original link to the video or it's going to be to his channel itself. So it's going to be one of the two things. Alright guys, so without further ado, let's get right into this.
Something the majority of the Fate fandom can agree upon is that the main protagonist of FateStay Night, Shirou Emiya, is a very well done and beloved character.
I don't know how it's gonna, how would I edit around that music. I'm pretty sure they're gonna not let me upload it. I don't know.
What I would like to posit here is that Shirou Emiya is fundamentally the same kind of person in all three routes of FateStay Night, as well as one additional story, Fate Kalide Liner Oath Under Snow. This video will be an attempt to make my case. Now, quick disclaimer.
Oh, you're trying to see he's the same character.
Okay. Stay Night, including the still-in-progress Heaven's Feel movie trilogy. I think it should also go without saying that I will be discussing spoilers for Oath Under Snow, and to a certain extent, Fate Zero. I'm not going to talk about Kalide Liner on the whole. I don't really like the show, and my longest bits of exposure to it were the movie and manga versions of Oath Under Snow. That being said, let's dive in. If I had to put my finger on one trait that really defines Shirou Emiya, it's friction. The primary thing that all versions of the character, besides like the main Kalide one, have in common is that in some way their primary conflict stems from how they interact with the world contrasted against their ideals and ambitions. This friction between dreams and reality is, IMO, the most interesting thing about the character, and one of the best parts of the Fate series on the whole. A guideline that helped me when writing this video was setting up the four Shirou's on a sort of alignment chart D&D style. What you see on screen is said chart.
Got little kid, demon look like,
and evil on this chart with four concepts related to Shirou: selfish, dreamer, and realist. Here I have placed Dean Shirou as a selfish dreamer, Unlimited Bladework Shirou as a selfless dreamer, Heaven's Feel Shirou as a selfless realist, and Oath Under Snow Shirou as a selfish realist. Now, I should specify, all four versions of Shirou are in some capacity heroes, and even though I am using the term selfish to describe two of them, I don't mean that in the capacity that they refuse to help others. What I mean is that these characters prefer to help the people they're closest to above all else, rather than indiscriminately lending their aid to humanity on the whole. One way in which we can explore these placements is how each version's use of the Unlimited Bladework spell is treated in their route. Let's go through them one by one, starting with Dean. Here, Unlimited Bladeworks is used only once, during Archer's last stand against Heracles, and Shirou never learns to do anything besides some very simple projection of Caliburn and Avalon, and, if you count filler, Concho and Bakia. Because of this, Shirou is forced to rely very heavily on Saber in battle and for moral support, and in falling in love with her, finds a selfish goal that he wants to pursue. He's forced to eventually leave this love behind, letting Saber disappear so she can destroy the Holy Grail, and after this, Shirou continues to pursue his original dream of becoming a hero for the entire world. Here, Unlimited Bladeworks is treated like a fleeting, unrealized dream, one that Shirou is far from earning by the end and that he'll have to discover the natural way like the Archer he saw in his war. The Unlimited Bladeworks route takes a different approach. In this story, Shirou is confronted head-on with the reality of what his dream will lead him to, but this happens in such a way that by the time
so all these are like just different tellings of the same story, basically. Okay.
Person he wants to fight for above anything else. True, this fight is technically to free Rin, but the stakes are ultimately far more personal than that. Shirou is quite literally confronted with the ideal version of himself that he's always dreamed of becoming, and because of this, he slowly unlocks exactly the kind of powers he needs to come into that eventual evolution. By the end of the series, he's gotten so skilled with his projection that when given a mana source greater than his own, he's even able to create the Unlimited Bladeworks marble using nothing but his own knowledge of its construction. You could even argue his version is more pure than Archer's, since the landscape is so much less depressing
he's a quick
than Archer
study.
produces. And before we move on to Heaven's Feel, I should point out that it's likely the entire reason Archer from UBW wanted to kill Shirou is because he was canonically from a very similar route to the Fate one. In turn, this would mean that as a selfish dreamer, he was nonetheless forced into the role of a selfless one, causing enormous amounts of dysphoria between what he wanted to become and what he eventually did. This version of Shirou was forged into the role of someone who fights for the greater good and the things he loves, and the reality that he'd eventually have to pick one acted as a slow burn, destroying his dreams over the course of countless battles as a guardian. It's only when going through
But so, like, if he kills that version of himself, doesn't he kill himself?
Counter guardian without the previously mentioned dysphoria, since at the very least he was able to watch himself overcome that obstacle from the third person. Anyway, as for Heaven's Feel, this version of Shirou isn't really ever granted proper use of the reality marble, at least not the way the previous one was. In this route, Shirou gains an extremely direct pathway to using it through Archer's arm, with the only condition being that he'll have to take his training very slowly so the arm won't overtake him. Shirou, being Shirou, doesn't listen to this and tries to use the arm in order to protect people around him multiple times over before he could ever do so safely. Between Nine Lives Bladeworks, projecting the Jewel Sword, fighting Saber Alter, and his final battle with Kirei, Shirou quickly exhausts his body's tolerance of the arm to the point that it literally transforms him into a walking mass of swords. The thing is, though, despite having put himself in a situation he shouldn't have been able to survive, thanks to Ilya's sacrifice at the end, he's given a new body and, in a way, rewarded for his heroism. In this story, Shirou never managed to reach the ideal that his unlimited...
So he got a whole brand new body off that? That's nuts.
After all the fighting and pain is behind him, Shirou is able to reap the rewards of his choice to love Sakura. The thing is, Shirou may not have realized the full extent of being a hero, but he still undoubtedly played that role. While the story does use things like Sakura's backstory and Saber's transformation very well to illustrate the darker, far more personal ramifications and reveals associated with Shirou's decision to pick apart his own dream, in choosing only the pieces he wants from it, Shirou is still able to satisfy his desires to save others while protecting his loved ones. In other words, the choice's consequences are not very widespread, and at the end of the day, are possible to overcome. Sakura's pain was going to exist whether or not Shirou ever found out about it, and Saber Alter showed up before Shirou got Archer's arm.
Sakura and alternate Saber, huh? Yeah, I ain't never watched this series.
The one part of his body Shirou truly lost is returned to him, and stronger at that. I don't quite know if Shirou keeps Archer's arm once he gets his new body, or if his new one retains similar powers.
Wait, so he took the arm from Archer?
The consequence is made totally moot by the Heaven's Feel may go to some places, but the route itself has one of the happiest endings of any Fate series to date. Why is that? Well, I think it boils down to a commonality between the original three stories. Let's not mince words here. Shirou is a privileged kid. He is a victim of lifelong trauma, and he has lost a lot by the time we meet him in FateStay Night, but I mean, just look at everything he still has. Shirou has a beautiful house all to himself, a surrogate sister in Taiga, magical powers, plenty of money, practical life skills, a fit body, a job. I mean, I'm not saying he's got it made, but he is not...
Dang, he is privileged. Goodness, I wish I had it made like that. It's good.
To be driven by his desires and ideals, because he is not hurting for his current circumstances. Most Fate fans I've talked to seem to like Shirou a lot, and if I had to put down a hypothesis for why, I'd say it's because the very nature of Stay Night demanded he be a well-developed character, because trying to drive him using something like the need to...
He definitely was a good, like...
would not have worked with
he, like, developed really good in FateStay Night, though.
Is giving him a big personality. This does,
I will say that.
Drawback, because you can
watching all in,
explore the
it was really good.
Until you've seen them really get desperate. So, the question is, what happens when you change the groundwork of the story? What happens when you change the mythical call to adventure that gives you a chance to bond with your lifelong crush and romance an attractive blonde girl into a horrifying, foreign ritual that claimed the life of the girl you love after someone directly involved kidnapped the only family you had left? Well, you get Oath Under Snow.
Sounds like a whole lot.
The Shirou of this story is fundamentally very different from his counterparts even from the very beginning. He never knew the kind, tired old man Kiritsugu became in FateStay Night, and because Kiritsugu never was that man, Shirou never had Taiga in his life either. There's never any mention of him knowing Rin, and it seems like Julian and Sakura are his only real friends at school. He lives a life of secrecy.
Wait, so all that stuff never happened basically for him?
Of things like his father-son bond with Kiritsugu, and even that relationship is much, much colder. I think this version does, on some level, still want to be a hero, but that desire is pushed back and repressed in the wake of the sheer, overpowering, frigid loneliness he lives through every day. I think it's pretty telling that Shirou even takes a page or two out of Kirei's book when he starts thinking about how he'll fight in the war. Heroism may be at the core of who Shirou is.
Oh, Kirei is his dad? Or is that his master?
It becomes hard for that fleeting dream to ever really find a place in his heart. Stay Night Shirou's largest hurdle to overcome was never loneliness, it was weakness. O Thunder Snow Shirou, on the other hand, isn't weak. His powers with the Archer card, and even for a time without it, are one-to-one with his heroic spirit. So overcoming personal weakness doesn't work as his motivation here. This Shirou only wants one thing: to take hold of something he loves, acknowledge that it's real, and not lose it. I think it's situationally appropriate here that O Thunder Snow Shirou fills the same spot on my alignment chart as a chaotic evil character would. That isn't to say that he's chaotic evil, but much like a character with that alignment, in order to make his story believable, the very basics of who he is needed to change. The core of Shirou Emiya is his unshakable desire to become his ideal, so in order for a version to exist that would openly mock that ideal for the sake of a snappy one-liner, that core needs to be shaken. In much the same way that Stay Night Shirou
So he's basically battling his own ideals to make them reality.
And that fascinates me. Throughout the whole of this story, Shirou uses Archer's powers with no restraint. He looses every tool in his arsenal, every technique he's learned, every last semblance of the very same chill that formed him into who he is. O Thunder Snow Shirou is cold. He barely ever smiles in battle, and in doing so, hardly even lets himself show negative emotion, rocketed into the same emotional state as Archer in a tiny fraction of the time. Whereas Dean Shirou used Caliburn as a symbol of he and Saber's bond, Unlimited Bladework Shirou used the marble with respect and admiration, and Heaven's Feel Shirou let his powers overwhelm him like a force of nature, O Thunder Snow Shirou uses his powers less like a weapon and more like a tool. His powers don't symbolize trust in Saber, or trust in his dream, or trust in Archer, but rather the fact that his isolation has driven him to using them without care or prejudice. He favors only the practical.
He looks like he just doesn't care in this iteration.
Less space. I think the most important reason why Shirou from Stay Night was able to achieve his dream in the end when Kiritsugu couldn't is because his exposure to heroism started with the man who saved him gently expressing his admiration of the idea. The fact that
Kirei saved him.
Tender family memories and years of keeping his head in the clouds hardened his resolve enough that he was eventually able to endure the hardships that came from trying to achieve his ideals. Kiritsugu was different in that his exposure to heroism was detached and emotionless, completely free of romance and warmth. He was forced time and time again to destroy the things he loved for the sake of justice, from his father to Natalia to Iris Veal and even Elia. His exposure to that dream was steeped in killing and loss, so he became unable to pursue that dream from any other lens than mindless bloodshed. O Thunder Snow Shirou is similar to Kiritsugu in that regard, and rightfully so, since the Kiritsugu who raised him was very much like the one from Fate Zero. Heroism to him was something chased with a hard stare and a heart of stone, and Shirou couldn't measure up to that.
That sucks.
The perception of what
Oh my
being
goodness.
A hero meant drove him away from that dream until he was ready to completely abandon it for the sake of protecting his own. With a self-proclaimed heart of glass, he never could have become what his father was, and that reality leaves him on his own yet again when the
Wait, so he is his father?
taken and his house is
I'm lost.
empty.
Is Kirei his father?
Is not a cold person. If you watch his conversation with Sakura, it's clear that he empathizes with her and wants that emotional connection, shown on full display with how wide his eyes go when he starts to realize he's going to lose her too. This could also be taken from his interactions with Miyu, and I'd be remiss not to mention that despite trying Kirei's weapons, he ultimately decides not to continue developing that style because it doesn't suit him. Shirou is a warm person adapted to a cold world, which is a take on his character we hadn't really seen in any other Fate series before.
She turned to a card?
I've spent more time on this individual Shirou than any of the others, but that's kind of why O Thunder Snow is in the title. Honestly, I'd have a hard time pinpointing the core of Shirou going only.
He's just literally just went, just all, no F's given, like, in this under oath. Or snow, whatever you call it.
He goes down the complete opposite
He just doesn't care anymore.
And yet, both of these Shirous have access to their own versions of the reality marble. They're the only ones who do. One of them wanders forever without aim in a world of endless blades, and the other seeks tiny glimmers of warmth in a frozen horizon, somehow both embodying and being devoid of hope. The difference is between a man who rose from powerlessness to resolutely face solitude, and a man who crawled his way out from that oblivion so he wouldn't be alone anymore. So why do the two Shirous with the least in common of all four both have such similar powers by the end? If you ask me,
see, I like videos like this where it's give you a lot of lore and explanation behind like what you watch. I like this.
Shirou Emiya, and in my personal belief, that friction is crucial in establishing why each one stands what they do with the reality marble. UBW and O Thundersnow Shirou both go through their trials and come out on the other end a changed person who's left their challenges behind. They may arrive at opposite endpoints, but they have to find who they are as well as they possibly can, and in doing so, they both gain the ability to conjure their own unique versions of Unlimited Bladeworks, distinct even from Archer's. The reason we never see Dean or Heaven's Feel Shirou's versions of the marble is because they haven't gotten to that level of self-realization. You could make the argument that Fate Route Shirou's marble would be the same as Archer's, since that's who he's most similar to, but Heaven's Feel Shirou is still a mystery. Neither of those two versions reached quite so extreme an end to their adventure as the two who unlocked Unlimited Bladeworks, which is almost certainly why they didn't. I don't think I'd be able to tell you which of these versions of Shirou is my favorite. I have a deep, personal connection to Unlimited Bladeworks Shirou, but O Thundersnow is such an important puzzle piece in understanding the character on the whole, and that gives me some serious bias toward it. What I will say is this: I think all four versions of Shirou are important to understanding one another. It's difficult to sympathize with Archer without
Who's
knowing
that?
the life he led before Unlimited Bladeworks. UBW Shirou.
Oh, that fight looks crazy. Yo.
Shows us Shirou dipping his toe in the water when it comes
That
to
fight looks
situations like
intense.
Wheels, and O Thundersnow picks him apart in such a
I need to
thorough
watch
way
that. I don't know who that
highlights
is, but I need to
the
watch them
limitations
fight.
we're trying to do. To be honest,
That's
I don't
cool.
think I need a favorite, because despite their varying circumstances, I think they're all, at their core, the same person.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the core, like, you can't, like, the core of a person, you can't, like, it don't matter how many iterations of that character, that, even in real life, like, if you have one person, right, but, like, you have it told in 3 different ways, or 4 different ways, like how this was, you can't, like, the core of your character is still going to be you. Like, it don't matter what it is, like, all these tales that it was for Shinryu, it don't matter because at the core of the character it's still the same, because it all starts from that area, that person. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. But yeah, this, like I said, this is from Blue Dragma VA. Like I said, this video right here is brought to you by him. The core of Shinryu, FateStay Night, Undersnow. It was actually pretty informative, pretty good. I ain't gonna lie. Like, the Undersnow thing, I did not know nothing about that. To be honest, I really didn't. Let me see. What does this say right here? I didn't pause this part of the video, but I want to check this out. It says, I understand this applies to the Shinryu as well to an extent, but he is more than laser focused on Sakura. He does want to live up to his ideals by killing her once he's connected her to the shadow, but the realest part of him is him knowing that doing so he would destroy him. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, this character, like, having it in 4 separate parts, like 4 separate, like, iterations of the character, man, like, that's deep. I didn't even think of that. I didn't even know about that, honestly. I think I knew about, like, 2 of the iterations of the character. I didn't know it had 2 extra ones. I didn't know that. Especially from, like, I think it was a movie or something like that. Or whatever the case may be. That Undersnow, that's wild. That's really, really wild. But, like I said, I like videos like this. Like, it informs you of, like, the anime of, like, stuff you already watched or stuff you might have not seen from other animes. I really do like that. But yeah, guys, we're gonna end off right there. I don't know how long this video has been going on right now. What is that say? I think it says like 18 minutes or something like that. But yeah, guys, we're gonna end off right there, man. Like I say, like, subscribe on the video. Video by Blue Dragma VA. Link will be streamed down below. You can go ahead and go and follow that for his channel or the video itself, like the original link, and then it's gonna lead to more of his content anyway. But yeah, guys, Link, I'm out. Peace.